Hello. Hey guys. Welcome. So today, I couldn't think of what I wanted to paint. But I've been talking so much about color and how to blend and how to mix, and we never really deep dove. I don't know the past tense of deep dive, but so I thought we would kind of just take a chill class, and learn how color works together. And when I say learn, it's like I'm not going to be really teaching you. I just am going to be guiding you through how I know it to work, and then you get to play with your stuff and make it work as well. So I'm sorry if that's disappointing, if there's no painting. You can also just paint something while listening to me. But I thought it'd be cool to every once in a while just do an actual skill type lesson. You guys let me know if it works and if you like it. You'll see I'm painting over it. You can see it was our penguin from many moons ago. But I didn't draw a wheel because I didn't want to it doesn't have to be super clean and perfect and specific. So I'm just gonna kind of go at it. Yay! Oh, I'm excited to see it with chalk. Okay, somebody in the comments said they're using chalk. So we're going to start with our primary colors. Our primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. Now, those colors are primary because you can't mix anything to get them. There's nothing, obviously there's pigment in here that people mix together, but you can't mix other colors together to get them. So I'm going to put myself some yellow, red, and blue. Now, the way we see color is also super interesting. It's just the way we interpret light. So everybody, it's wild to think about, and it throws me into a tizzy thinking about it sometimes, but everybody sees color differently. So my blue and your blue could be two completely different blues. The same tube of blue, what it looks like to me can look completely different to somebody else, even without color blindness. Just everybody perceives color differently. So I think that's pretty cool. But I won't go too far into the science stuff because I haven't done too much of that in the most recent times. But it's weird because when you think about something like black, the color black, it's not a color, but you think that it's the absence of color because it's the absence of light. But when it comes to physical things like paint, it is every color. It's all the colors. But when it comes to light, all of the colors are white. So white light is all of the colors on the visible spectrum. Okay, let's go into our paint. Let's see, what brush am I going to use here? So what I'm going to do, I am going to set it up in a circle. Well, am I? No, you know what? I'm not. You can. Color wheels are a thing, but I'm not. I'm going to go linear. So I'm going to do it like a rainbow instead of a circle where the purple and red would connect back to each other. I'm just going to go in a straight line. So I'm going to start with red, and I'm just going to kind of over here, just kind of give myself a little dabby-do of red. The only thing that is annoying with this is that I'm going to have to wash my brush a lot, but that's in the beginning, but that's fine. Okay. So then we're going to do red. Let's do yellow right here. I'm going to end up having to go back and make red bigger because I have a lot of space. Okay, that's fine. Yellow. And then I'm going to grab my blue. I'm not going to put my blue all the way out here because I do want to leave room for the purple aspect. So I'm going to kind of, yeah, that's good. Again, this does not have to be perfect. If you want to sit down and like really lay out space for it, you can. I don't think that's necessary. I saw a cool thing of a waterfall, but it was rainbow, so maybe. Oh, that's fun. Yeah, I want to see a rainbow waterfall. Let me just put some more red in here. Okay, now I started in the middle for a reason that I'm not telling you yet. The middle of my canvas, that is. Okay, so now we're going to talk about secondary colors. Now, secondary colors are what you get in between all of these. So that's why like a color wheel is ideal, because the secondary colors are across from each other and the primary colors are across from each other. So you won't get that with this demonstration, but it's fine. I'll explain. So your secondary colors are going to be what you get when you mix yellow and red, which is orange. They're going to be what you get when you mix yellow and blue, which is green, and then what you get when you mix blue and red, which is going to be purple, and it's going to live down here. So I'm going to first mix myself an orange. Ordinarily with paint, I would want to mix white into this to get it to show up. But I think for the purpose of this, it'll be fine without the white, because there's a reason that I'm not adding the white. Okay, so now if you have multiple colors of paint and you'd rather just use an orange paint, you can absolutely do that. With me showing you how to create this, I thought it would be fun to make my own. So I'm just making an orange. And I'm just gonna plop some orange right in the middle here. Okay. That's like pretty good middle orange right there. And then I'm going to do the same thing with green. So I'm going to take my yellow and my blue. You will find that for both of the things that you have to mix with yellow, you need significantly more yellow than the other color. So significantly more yellow than red, and then same thing goes for blue. It's going to be more yellow. And then I've got my green. So I just mixed my yellow and my blue together to come up with the green shade. And now we're going to go purple. So I'm going to mix my red and my blue together. I wish I was like a fancy YouTuber. Well, I guess you can't do this live, but I was going to say who had like the overhead shot of me mixing my paint. No, you still can't see it. It's fine. In general, like my personal aesthetic is that I prefer a warmer yellow. I'm sorry, all yellows are warm. Well, anyway, I enjoy a warmer purple, but I'm trying to get it pretty neutral, like not too warm, not too cold, meaning not too much red, not too much blue, just for the purposes of this. I do think having a little bit more red does make it a brighter purple, as opposed to like what you guys can see on there, which looks black. So I'm gonna add a little bit more red. I don't know. Okay, well, you'll just have to take my word for it that that's purple. Okay, so now here's where we're gonna start talking about some fun stuff. There are different types of color wheels. Some color wheels will do a gradual blend, and some color wheels will do like where you can count each box. So that's why I started with these boxes. What we're going to do now is talk about how to kind of, well, not talk about, because we talk about blending colors a lot. I've forced you to blend colors a lot in our classes. But I think this is really a fun exercise to work on your blending, because it's like not of any consequence. You know, you're not trying to create something. We're just blending actual literal color swatches together. So I think that's fun. If there'll be time to show us this, but I really want to learn about how to make reflection either in water or otherwise and make the colors more muted. Okay. Yes, I think that like the concept might come up here, but we can do a painting with something reflected so that I can go over that. I actually won't be able to have class next week. I have a commitment, but maybe the week after that, I'll choose something that could be reflected in the water. Thank you for the idea, Caitlin. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna I wanna try to make this whole rainbow like smoothly transition between each other. We'll see if we could do it. So I'm going to take my orange color that I used here, and I'm going to add a little bit more red to it to get something in between. And I'm going to plop that right here in between my orange and my red. Now this is where you have to really start using how you perceive your colors to figure out how to make this blend kind of seamlessly. So you want to figure out just the right amount of red and just the right amount of orange to get this to kind of transition. And then if you want, like you can still kind of see these three separate colors. So if you want to really blend it, you can go and do all of this like gradual work over those seams. So like I'm grabbing a little bit more red at a time just to kind of make this transition happen. And then I'm going to go in and grab some more orange to make this transition happen. Just kind of softening it up and showing you that that's how we can transition from one color to the next. So I'm pretty much, we're creating a rainbow gradient. That's what's happening right now. So I'm going to, in theory, you don't have to wash your brush as you transition, you know, between colors, but just to keep it nice and clean, I'm going to. So now I'm going to mix my orange and my yellow to make something in between. This is what would be called tertiary colors. So there's primary, there's secondary, and then tertiary. So tertiary is what happens when you mix the secondary with its primary. There won't be a quiz, by the way, guys. I'm just throwing names out there. I'm not gonna like force you to know these names by heart and use them at all of our classes. And if you don't know them, you're in trouble. It's not a thing that's happening here. But then I'm going to add a little bit more orange and soften this line between the squares to kind of help with this gradient. And then I'm just going to kind of like, oops, I got into the green paint. And then I'm going to grab this tertiary color that had the orange and the yellow. So the mixture where I mixed the orange and the yellow, I'm going to add more yellow to it to bridge this gap and soften this line and kind of just make these guys blend together. This line is still there and it's bothering me. Let's see if I can grab some more orange, soften this. There will be some back and forth. Like don't be afraid if you don't get the mixture right at the first, on your first try. There is some trial and error that has to happen. Okay. So now we're just going to keep doing the same thing. So we're going to make our tertiary color between yellow and green. So I'm going to take some more yellow and add it to my existing green. Oops, I didn't mix that very well. Okay, so you can still see those lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go backwards because it's easier for me to go back into a dark color without washing my brush. So I'm just going to grab some more green and soften this line. So I mix the dark green into my tertiary color, the yellow-green shade. This one's a hard one because it is really difficult to lighten green without white. You need a lot of yellow to get there. I need more yellow. Don't worry, there's going to be like more than this. You'll see. Okay, so I'm going to take that yellow-green mixture and I'm going to add much more yellow to it and soften this line. But this is one of the harder ones to do because yellow is so light. So getting that blend, it's not as hard to do if your paint is still wet. Mine kind of dried. Okay. And then actually for this one, you don't really have to wash your brush because you have green on your brush right now. So green and blue, mixing them together to make blurine. And I'm just going to, oops, and I got red in it. Keep your colors separate on your palette whenever possible. I don't know why I chose to put my paint so close together. It's still very green. Let's see. Okay. And same thing, we're just going to grab some regular green and blend this in. And then you're going to grab some regular blue and blend your blue-green into your blue to soften that line. Okay. So this one, because I chose not to do the circle, we're just going to have that one blend between the purple and the blue instead of then also blending the purple back into the red. That's what would happen if it was a circle. It would continue to blend on both sides like every other color did. So I'm just going to take blue and some of my purple. Oops. And then blend it on both sides. So grab a little bit more blue and grab a little bit more purple. This is pretty easy to blend because they're dark. And there's that. So just so you can see, obviously this isn't like my greatest masterpiece, but so that you can see it closer up, that's the soft blend kind of idea, where you can't really see where one color starts and the next one stops. No, where one color stops and the next one starts. So now we're going to talk about hue and shade. A a lot of times terms like that are going to be interchangeable. And there's other terms that like words that are similar that people kind of throw around that we'll kind of mention. But hue is when you add white to a color, and shade is when you add black to a color. So let me get my black and my white going here. Now, you may also hear words like saturation, which are similar. A fully saturated color is going to be like what we've created here, like the original, most intense form of its color. Once you start using hues and shades, you're changing the saturation. The addition of white to the mixture is going to create those like pastels, and the addition of black is going to kind of like gray everything out. Now, the addition of actual gray to a color is where you start to talk about tone. We're not going to go there. There's a lot of people disagree on things like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do white first. So what I'm going to paint the whole bottom strip of my canvas white, because I need to know, whenever you're blending, this brings up a good point, or what I like to do. I won't say that this is like a rule, but how I find it easiest to blend two colors together is you need to know your absolute lightest baseline and your darkest baseline in order to be able to create all the colors in the middle. So we've got the most saturated, and then we're going all the way down to least, which would just be white. Okay. Now it's our job to get from here to there. So how do we do that? Well, I'm always a fan, especially, not especially, I like to start in the middle because I think that's a good grounding point. So you take your white, I was going to say, especially when like drawing and spacing things out, I usually start in the middle. Like for example, if I'm writing a long word out for a piece of art and I know it has to fit in this space, I don't have enough spatial awareness to be able to know when to start, that this is where I'll stop. So I'll pick like the two middle letters or the one middle letter, depending on how many letters there are. And I'll do those first in the middle. And then I can build out forwards and backwards. I don't know if that's how normal people do their lettering, but that's what works for me. Okay, so I'm taking my red and my white, and I'm trying to create a middle ground pink. That kind of feels to me like equal parts red and white. It may not actually physically be equal parts red and white because that may not work with paint like it does electronically. So I'm going to follow this down. I'm going to go about midway and say that that's about the middle point between red and white. And then we're going to do exactly what we did here, but going down. So I'm going to add a little bit more white. And put that there. And then I'll go back to my original color and I'll add a little bit more red. And put that there. So these are hues because they're going from white, or you're adding white. Thank you for understanding starting in the middle lettering. Again, I don't know if there's better ways. I'm sure there are better ways. Let me rephrase that. Okay, so now same thing we went over with this. To blend, I'm just gonna grab some red on my dirty pink brush, and you may need to go in and grab more red. You may need to wash your brush off. Like I have a lot of white on mine, so it's kind of getting added to my red too much. So it's just about, this is not me like teaching you how to find these colors, because unless I'm sitting there mixing the paint for you, I can't find the exact middle between two colors like on demand like that. But I can show you how to kind of go back and forth between shades until you get a nice little gradient. It's funny, I love working with colors, and I like to think, I don't know that I would be considered an expert by any means, but I like to think that I'm pretty good at color matching things. It's just like a fun thing that I like to do. And I saw on TikTok, this guy went viral and like created a whole career on TikTok of matching colors to random items. Like he matched colors to a stick of gum. And like that's all his channel is just watching him mix paint colors. And I was like, why didn't I think of this? Anyway, back on this game. I think I'm still too dark. Looking at it now, I grabbed some more white and I'm going to try to blend this pink into this, and there's still so much tonal difference there. I think I might have gone a little too fast, a little not as gradual as I would have liked. But a couple things, you can change it. And also it's just your creation. So like, is there a right or wrong? Not really. But you want to make sure that there's still white and red at both ends. I think probably somewhere here, like they might be a little too close. That's okay. Okay, it'll work. Now you can choose if you want to now do this across for all of these little colors. I mean, you can. I think I'm going to stick with the same order. So I'm going to do the primary colors. I'm going to do the secondary colors, and they'll kind of fill in, but it'll be a really good example of like, okay, how do I blend this together with the white? If that words are hard, I don't know how else to explain this. So I'm going to do I'm going to do yellow and then orange, and then we'll have to figure out how to do those tertiary colors with the white and see if they blend in with the hues next to them. Let's see if it works. Okay, so yellow. Yellow is hard with white, y'all, because it's such a light color to begin with. So trying to find that middle and then trying to go gradually, it's tough. So let's start there. Let's say middle is going to be there. We'll add a little bit more yellow. And then a little bit more white. I'm going to go through them quickly because if I don't, we'll be here forever. But that's my yellow. And then I'm going to blend. We're doing the same exact thing we just did over there by adding more of the in-between colors to try and get this to be a more gradual transition. So I'm just adding, all you're doing is mixing the color from above and below. But the thing about it is trying to get that proper balance. I think this one did pretty well. Oops, I just like literally ruined it. No, it's fine. Get some more yellow here. Cool. It's really hard for you to see that. So kind of right here, you can really see where the transition is a little stronger, but I think that's probably as close as I'll get, because when you're adding white to a plain yellow paint like this, you're also dealing with an opacity issue, like how thick, how see-through the shade is. So that line could be an opacity, like where it goes from being really translucent to really opaque, translucent being see-through and opaque being not see-through. So that could be more of the issue that we're seeing there. Okay, let's do orange. I'll take my yellow and my red. Make an orange, and then I'm going to mix some white in there. See if I can get that middle shade. Again, when I say that middle shade, it's a shade that I am making up entirely. So, okay, so orange is right here. Middle is going to be right there. That might be too dark. Let me add a little bit more white. This is really just playing, guys. Like, that's why I love it so much. You just like mix colors and see what happens. Okay, that feels like an in-between that and that to me. And so then I'm going to add some more orange. And blend. It's really like just very relaxing and therapeutic, in my opinion, to just sit and play with colors. And see, I just had way too much paint on my brush when I was trying to mix something, and I failed to do what I was trying to do. But there's no right or wrong here, so just grabbing a little white and kind of making it go away. Okay, so now there's the fun game of trying to make this area get filled in. Let me see, I'm gonna need more yellow. Now this is fun, especially if you didn't, it's easier if you mixed a whole bunch of your original paint colors and you could just add and subtract as you go. But I didn't do that because that would make sense, right? So now it's a matter of, I think it's easiest to fill in like going straight down the line instead of like finding your middle with something like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make, let's see here. No, that's going to be closer to here, actually. This is also another idea that you could do. You can mix a color, put it where you think it goes, and I thought it went there, and I'm like, whoa, that's way too dark. So I just kind of moved it up the line. And then I can add white as needed. So what I'm doing now is I just mixed another orange. I added more yellow and white. So that's what this shade in between is going to be. It's going to be a more yellow orange, but also adding more white. This is tricky, guys. Like, this area is tricky, especially if you're using all mixed colors and not like individual colors that you've created. So pretty much this area is going to be a yellowy orange that we are then going to be mixing with white. And don't forget, if you want this to be really soft, you're going to want to start to think about mixing it in with its buddy colors too. So this is where things get real tricky. But in the best way possible, because you learn how colors interact with each other. And that's what I love about this so much. Okay, so I'm going to go right up to the hardest part is mixing with that yellow without completely overtaking your like regular yellow. That is a tricky spot. And now you don't have to do all of this. I'm not going to get to all of this in our hour-long class. I just wanted to show you kind of like where to go, how to start. But you can work on this for a little bit longer and really kind of get a nice soft blend between all of these colors here. It is easier. The reason I'm doing it this way is it is easier to work with the colors next to each other while it's still wet, because you can kind of use that to your advantage for the blending purposes. I need more white. Now, let me also say, since I said, you can work on this past the hour, or, in your own time, in your own way, you can also, if you choose to, make a grid and not do all of this blending. You can just do a grid to kind of like find the colors and make that without all the blending. If you're struggling here and it's getting to the point of frustration, which it should never, like, don't let it get to that point, because then it's not fun anymore and you're not learning really. You're just like throwing paint. Just make a grid, make little boxes. Because what I'm doing right now is like pretty much repainting everything to suit where I'm at currently. So it's not the smoothest transition, but I'll show you. Oops. So that's where we're at with the blending of the hues of orange and yellow into the white. It's not perfect, and it won't be. I mean, I could probably get things to be much, much softer if I spent a ton of time, but it would take so much time. Okay. I was just gonna say I'm struggling with not erasing my primary yellow by blending. Yes, so when you start to blend into your yellow, clean your brush frequently, like pull up into it, but don't go all the way over it, pull up into it. And if it's really contrasty and different, wash your brush, grab some more yellow and blend it back over in the opposite direction. And that will usually help counteract. Let's see. I'm going to try to figure out this situation as well. So while you guys are working on that, I'm going to do this, and then we'll switch to shade, which is adding the black. Okay, so let's see here. Red and orange and white. It's difficult also to, like for this area, to not just be making orange. I need to be making red-orange. So you always have to like kind of keep that in the back of your mind, and it's gonna become like a peachy color. But this is hue. So whenever you see people discussing hues, this is what they're talking about. They may not know it, but this is what they are talking about. Oops. Actually, I like personally, guys, I think you might know this about me already. I think it's way more fun to do this without a grid. I understand the very like type A personality of needing things to be perfect or aligned or things like that, but I think you learn more about how the colors interact with each other if you just kind of let them mingle and kind of play around on your own. And if you complete this whole like concept of filling a canvas with different colors and their hues and shades, then you can like create anything. Like you'll have the ability from 3 original colors and a white and a black to be able to make anything, which was kind of the whole point of my quarantine creatively to begin with anyway, was showing you didn't need a lot of materials or anything fancy to make stuff. So here we are, 10 months later. I probably should have done this class first, but I didn't want to. This is like very intimidating. I didn't want to freak people out with this. Like, we're going to blend all the colors together and teach you how to blend first before you can ever paint a pumpkin. No, that's not how that works. You can absolutely paint a pumpkin without having all of this knowledge or experience. But now that you may have taken some of the classes, and you have this like knowledge and experience, or maybe you can remember a time when you painted something and you're like, I wish I knew how to make this, or I made it and I don't like it and I don't know why. Maybe this will help you figure out why you don't like it. That was completely the wrong color, Ilya. See? Stuff like that. That's how you learn. So I mixed the color and I thought that it was similar, but no, it has way too much yellow. So now I have to figure out, how do I fix that? And the answer is more red, because I know it's up closer to where the red area is. Does that make sense? Like giving yourself that spatial awareness on like a field of colors. It's still a little too late, but it's fine. But like that's what I'm looking for you to get out of this is, oh, I mixed this color. It's not behaving how I want it to behave. How do I make it behave how I intended? So is it too pastel? Is it a lighter hue than I wanted? Okay, I'll add more of the fully saturated color, the original color. Is it too saturated? Okay, I'll add more white. That's what this is hopefully doing for you. We'll see if it works. But I have the utmost faith that you guys are understanding my nonsense here. Also, please feel free to tell me in the comments if my eyebrows are perfect. Thank you. But feel free to tell me if I've completely lost you. But playing with the colors like I'm doing right now is really how I learned to make them. That's really it. Is it making sense? Like the whole make a color, plop it down where you think it goes, and then be able to use the colors around it to adjust. Does that make sense? Somebody tell me yes. Well, no, don't tell me yes if it doesn't. But just so you can see kind of the blending situation happening. It's not like you can see where there are certain brush strokes. It's not going to be perfect, but also I think this is going to possibly look really cool when I'm done, if I ever finish. So I might keep this one and not paint over it. Thank you, Lisa. Even if it doesn't make sense, I appreciate your very sincere seeming lie. Okay. So you'll do the same thing across everything eventually, maybe. Maybe this is a thing that you work on a little bit now and then a little bit later, and then, or maybe you're really exhausted from everything that's happening in the world and you just want to sit down and play with color for 5 hours today. You do you. It doesn't have to take you 5 hours, I promise. But we're going to talk about shade. Now, the reason that shade is so difficult is because black, I've said it before, can take over everything. Like, if you add too much black to a color, you can't get it back. You can't get the color back. There's just too much black. So I'm going to do what I did earlier with the white. I'm going to add a strip of black up here. But you have to be like super duper selective with how much black you start with when you're adding colors, because if you go too dark too quick, you can't get it back. So I would err more on the side of caution with the black than anything else. It never occurred to me that I would like what this would look like at the end, so I didn't really plan on it being like a whole canvas thing. It doesn't have to be. You can be using whatever you want to paint on. Okay, now depending on how much black you have on your brush, you may need to clean your brush off. I'm just going to kind of scrape it off here. Let's see, should we start with, let's start on this end, since we did that. Start on this end here. So we're going to start with purple. Now this purple is already really dark, so this is going to be like really hard for you to see, which maybe we shouldn't start there. Yeah, we're not going to start there because you won't be able to see it. So let's start with like, well, we can start with yellow. Yellow does a weird thing when you mix it with black and it becomes kind of gray. But this yellow is really not really translucent. It's very see-through. So usually, in order to get the actual color I'm trying to get, I would mix white in, but I'm going to not do that. Let's just see how it goes. I'm going to take some yellow. I've run out of surface area on my palette. I'm going to just add a little bit of black. Now, you might notice it start to look gray or green, depending on what kind of yellow you have. And I'm just going to go in the middle here. It looks like baby poop. That is baby poop. And also probably not dark enough. So let me add a little bit more black. Okay. And now I'm going to add a little more black. But again, I'm adding it in such small increments because I don't want it to tip too far. And then you can add more black and kind of blend it. There. And then add some more yellow. Now mine is also really streaky because one, I'm too lazy to actually mix this color. But also because this yellow is so translucent. Okay. Yellow's a rough one, guys. So that's me taking yellow shaded with black. It's not cute. I don't choose to do that often without white. I will do it with white, or I will also, oh, this is really fun. I'm not doing this on here, but you know the peanut butter shade that I mentioned, it's raw sienna. When you mix, raw sienna has a lot of white, and it has yellow, and it has some like brownish tint to it. If you mix it with black, it makes a really nice warm gray. So I will do that on purpose. But bright highlighter neon yellow and black make baby poop, and I don't like it. So that's that on that. Now I can also, because yellow is so translucent, what I can do is I can also just kind of like throw some yellow up over it to kind of try and soften it, but it's just not a good look, y'all. Okay, but so now let's try green. All right, green is right here. Okay, that just looks black to you guys, but I promise it's not. I'm just doing the same thing. Just taking my black, slowly adding more. The darker colors, it's going to be much more subtle when you transition. Yeah, the lighting in here is bad, but keep that in mind. When you transition from green to black, it is difficult to do with the dark shades. And maybe that was a little bit of my fault for making this, for making this green so dark, but. And then trying to do all this with the black, that gets difficult. I'm not even gonna lie to you there. Trying to figure out how much yellow, how much green, how much black. Because pretty much once you go with too much black, like I just did there, if you could see the difference between this yellow green shade and that one, there's a big difference right there. You can see that line. That means I went too dark too quick because I didn't do my whole start in the middle thing. So that's hard to come back from. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have some yellow green here, and I'm just going to have to bleed a little bit further into my yellow green original shade than I intended. I'm also, if you've been to any of my classes, you know I'm a big fan of finger painting. So, okay, it's a little better, a little softer. I would definitely, if you're gonna like take a break and come back to this or work on it in sections, I would definitely like do all of the white, and then do the black for that color. I just think that you'll learn how to work with the colors more, so that if you make a boo-boo, not a boo-boo, but like something that is not what you like, you'll have more of the skills, knowledge, experience to kind of change it or fix it, modify it, etc. You do sometimes also need to just like layer the colors. So sometimes I need to, the blacks, I'll need to, with adding the black shading, sorry, I'll need to kind of create this middle color first and then kind of grab some black and blend it over it. So like right there, that area is really light because I just wanted to make sure I was like getting the same colorway. And then I'm just gonna add the black in over it like this. Still not working for me right where I made that error. So let's see if I can fix that with some yellow. Because what I want you guys to kind of be able to see is that you want to work with the black. For example, if we're starting here, this should be the lightest area, and this, like, of what we've painted so far, and this should be the darkest. So you should be able to, like, there's gradients all around. It'll be gradients this way, but it'll also be gradients diagonally. So ideally, whoa, ideally, Ileana just threw black where it doesn't belong. Ideally, that would be something that would also work visually. So you'd be able to see, okay, well, yes, but also this got darker first, so let me address that kind of thing. And you'll be able to see it all gridded out for you that way, which I think is pretty cool. I'm a sucker for a good gradient. Yeah. Love me a good gradient. Cool thing about the yellow and black mixture kind of creating green is that it makes it easier for you to cover up and make some adjustments on the green section of all of this. Okay, I think that's pretty much as good as I'm going to get it. We are just over the hour mark, so I just want to show you how it goes from the lightest yellow to the darkest green, kind of right there in that block. I don't know if I'm going to finish this now. I do have a lot of paint pumps, so I might finish a little bit more, but I didn't want to keep you guys too much longer. But let me see what you did so far, what you did during class. Even if you weren't doing this, I kind of want to see what you did. So throw a picture up on Twitter, tag me, or tag me, or ideally both. Tag me when you're done. I want to see what it looks like when it's all finished. But this is fun. Let me know if you liked it as much as I did. I don't know, maybe this is incredibly boring. And I will, I'm not going to see you guys next week because I have a thing, but I'll have a class the week after. Bye.